गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. We are in Upadesh Sahasri and we are doing chapter number 2, verse number 58. Shawl? That's not a shawl. Turn it down. That's not a shawl.
No, don't know. Cushion cover.
So, towards the end of the last class, we saw that the student came up with an argument saying that how can the knower and known, whatever is superimposed through ignorance on anything else is found to be non-existent, meaning the wave superimposed on the water, the ornament superimposed on the gold, the pots superimposed on the mud are essentially non-existent in that thing, etc. And like a snake in the rope, the snake is non-existent, rope is the real thing. And similarly, both the body and the self, always the objects of an undifferentiated knowledge, would be non-existence in each other if they were mutually superimposed. The teacher had before said that and the student is coming up with this argument that if they are mutually superimposed on each other, body is superimposed on the consciousness or consciousness is superimposed on the body, both cannot exist without each other. That means both are non-existent. This is the conclusion that he is coming to. They would be non-existent in each other if they were mutually superimposed. Just likewise, the self and the non-self would both be non-existence if they were similarly superimposed on each other through ignorance. But that is not desirable, as it is the position of the nihilist. This position, who are the nihilists? Nihilists are those who believe there is nothing as the conclusion. There is emptiness as the conclusion. There is no, you cannot call it essence, you cannot call it reality, you cannot call it pure consciousness, you cannot call it truth, you cannot call it Paramatma, you cannot call it Brahman, you cannot call anything, there is nothing. This is the conclusion of the nihilists. Because both are superimposed on each other, therefore ultimate it's equal to zero. But that is not the Vedantic conclusion. This is not the conclusion that we want. If instead of mutual superimposition, the body alone is superimposed through ignorance on the self, the body will be non-existent in the existing self. If body is superimposed on the consciousness, then according to the rules, that which is superimposed has to be non-existence. So body is non-existent. But I have experienced that the body exists. That is also not, that is also not desirable, for it contradicts sense perceptions, etc. Therefore the body and the self are not mutually superimposed due to ignorance. If they are not superimposed due to ignorance, then what is the conclusion? This is the student's dilemma now. You are catching the way the student is thinking. They are always in the relation of conjunction with each other like pillars and bamboos. So the student has come to the conclusion that they are both mutually self-existing, like the stones and bricks and the framework and the roof. So all of that put together is called a house. Without the foundation or without the bricks, you cannot have a house, or without the roof, you cannot have a house. So he says, is it like this? So then the teacher asks, it is not so. For in that case, there arises the possibility of the self existing for the benefit of another. If this is taken as mutual support, that they are supporting each other mutually, then it will mean that we have accepted that consciousness is supporting the body, which means the body is other than consciousness, and body is supporting consciousness, that means consciousness is other than the body. We cannot accept this. Why? What is the premise with which we are starting? No, the text has started. The premise is that there is only one. How can there be the other? We don't accept that. Now we have to, the argument is moving in such a manner, the student is coming up with his arguments and the teacher is again and again bringing him back to that one without a second principle and trying to remove the cobwebs that are getting created because of the what you call the conditionings that he has had since through his studies or through his contemplation or through his childhood. And we all have different come from different backgrounds, and we all think in a particular manner. So teacher is trying to address all that. The self, so that means body is non-eternal and the self is eternal. So it means that the self is supporting the non-eternal. It's existing together with non-eternal, and they together is called life. Yes, at a mediocre level we do say that. We accept that. At a beginning level, but not at the level where our Adi Shankaracharya is taking us. He is taking us to straight to the one. The self, if in contact with the body, would be existing for the benefit of another and be non-eternal like the combination of pillars and bamboos. Moreover, the self, supposed by other philosophers to be co-joined with the body, must have an existence for the sake of another. It is therefore concluded that devoid of contact with the body, the self is eternal and characteristically different from it. That without the self, the body cannot exist. Without the self, body cannot exist. But body is, sorry, did I say without the consciousness, body cannot exist? Is that what I said? Okay. Without the consciousness, body cannot exist. But consciousness can exist independent of the body. Isn't it? There are enough examples. So it can be concluded that consciousness does not, is supporting the consciousness, but does not require, consciousness is supporting the body, but does not require the body for its own existence. तस्या संहतस्य देहे देह मात्रतया अध्यारोपितत्वेन असत्वा नित्यत्वादि दोष प्रसंगो भवति तत्र निरात्मको देह इति वैनाशिक पक्ष प्राप्ति दोषः स्यात्. So he says, the disciples continues, he says, the objections that the self as the body only is non-existent, non-eternal and so on hold good if the self which is not co-joined with the body were superimposed on it. The body would then be without a self, and so the nihilist position comes in. So the student is now continuing his previous, because he had showed the nihilist philosophy, and he came to the conclusion that body and consciousness both mutually support each other and are existing. And now the teacher said, no, it is not like that. Consciousness exists of its own accord. It does not need any support. It does not need to hang on to something else, to support something else in order to exist. It does not need a crutch, so to speak. But the disciple says that the self as the body only, for being superimposed, the self is non-existent. The relation of conjunction between the self and the body is not admitted by the teacher. The relation of conjunction failing, that of false identity comes in, for we must explain the idea, I am a man. The body again is superimposed on the self according to the teacher, and the self would be without a body. So the student is saying, this is the what do you call, aftermath. Is it aftermath or aftermath? Aftermath. Aftermath of this statement, that self as the body only is non-existent. Because who has come to know the self without the body till now? Think. Without the body, who has come to know that the self is? If you don't have the body,
you can't have mind.
yeah, with the mind you can never come to know the self.
No, even that is the media, and we reach the self.
But here the student is thinking in this manner, that without the body, self is not known.
Yeah.
This is the conclusion he is coming to.
Yeah, we have to take
Because how can you come to know the self, according to him, if you don't have the body? And therefore, then it will be non-existence, it will be non-eternal, and so on. Hold good if the self which is not co-joined with the body and were superimposed on it. If it was not connected to the body, was not taking the support of the body, was not taking the crutch of the body, then this will be the position, then it will be non-existent, because of his previous argument, that which is superimposed is non-existent. The body then would be without a self. And so we are again coming to the nihilist position, that the self does not exist. So now the teacher says, no, it is not like that. Swatah evatmana akashasyeva asamhatatva bhyupagamat sarvena samhatah sacha atmeti na niratmako dehadi sarvah syat. Yathacha akasham sarvena samhatamiti sarve na nirakasham bhavati. Evam tasmanna vainashika paksha prapti doshah syat. No, you are not right. For we admit that like the ether, that is the space, the self is by nature free from contact with everything. Is the space free of contact from everything? What is there in the space? What is there in the space? Yes, that's one. Everything. The whole creation. Whether you take the Bhutakash, remember, did we do these three? No, in Gita we did. The three spaces are there, the outside space, the Bhutakash, the mental space, the Chittakash, and the conscious space, the Chidakash. Now, whichever space, if you take just the physical space, what is the quality of space? To contain things, to accommodate. Without space, creation cannot exist, as we know it. Both the physical creation or the mental creation. The physical creation exists in the outside, the gross space, and that total gross space with its contents, plus all other imaginations that you can have, exists as contents in the mental space, isn't it? But the space is not disturbed by its contents. So the teacher says the space is essentially free, because there is a big bang in the space, because there is a what you call a planet gets destroyed or a new planet comes up, nothing happens to the space. Just like the waters of the ocean, whether a wave comes up or a wave dies, there is no change in water. Water is essentially free. Just as things are not bereft of the ether, though it is not in contact with them, so the body, etc., are not devoid of the self, though it is not in contact with them. Therefore, the objection of the nihilist position coming in does not arise. So, what is the conclusion? What the teacher has said? The whole creation as we know it cannot exist without space. So now you are here, this camera is here, this house is here. So where the house is, where you are existing, is the space existing there? Existing or not existing? How many existing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I'm sorry, I was on something.
I said, where you are sitting, is the space existing there? Or not existing?
Space. No,
Huh?
I mean space.
Good. So every one of you accepts that you are existing in space. Now, space is from here onwards, space begins. What about inside the form? It's existing? How much?
Oh, 99.5%.
99.999999999%. Only 0.0000001% is the body mass, the physical mass. It's almost minuscule. Yet our attention is not on space, our attention is on the mass. This is one of the jokes. So it is pervading everything, just like a water is pervading every wave, in and through. Similarly, space is pervading in and through everything that exists in this creation. So, in this creation, air, fire, water, earth, plants, animals, insects, mammals, human beings, the space is pervading them to the depths of them. Just like that, the consciousness is pervading the space also. Just like that, consciousness is pervading the space also. How can that be possible? The example is, if you have caught the gist of it, physical space, mental space, conscious space. So, the gross space is not possible to exist without the mental space, correct? The mental space cannot exist without the conscious space. Conscious space means the conscious presence. So just like the gross space is pervading everything that is contained within it, so if we don't have to work out all the contents of the space, you just come to the essence of it, space. It's pervading everything. Now what is space pervaded by? The mental space. Without the mind you won't know the gross space outside. And that includes all the contents of the gross space as well as the mental imaginations or mental constructs. Now what is the mental space because of? Can I see the mental space? Can I observe the space? Can I witness the chittakash? Yes. Chitta vritti nirodha iti yogaha. When all the thoughts subside on the seat of meditation, I am able to watch the mind space. I say, now there is nothing in my mind. So someone is watching, isn't it? That watcher is the conscious space. Without that consciousness, this mental space also cannot exist. So, what is if at all there is a linear movement of expansion, then it will be conscious space expanded to be within its womb, contains the mental space, and within the womb of the mental space is the gross space. But we live exactly the opposite way. We feel that the gross space is the huge. Our mental space is only this much, and the conscious space is teeny meeny one inside somewhere, one dot. Go straight from here, and there the dot will find. How foolish it is. And the reality is that the gross space is pervaded by the mental space, which is even more expansive than the gross space. And the mental space is pervaded by the conscious space, or permeated by the conscious space, which is infinitely more expansive. So therefore teacher says, what your conclusion is that there is nothing is not correct. You got what I just explained? Good. If not, listen to this talk again. What?
And such, Tinanda, does consciousness exist within existence? Or
say that?
Does consciousness exist within existence?
What is your experience? First explain what is existence. Question is, does consciousness exist within existence? Is that your question?
Is there any, yes, as the gross space sits within the mind, and the mind sits within consciousness, does consciousness sit within?
That question will arise if you want to know the consciousness as an object of knowledge. And what is Vedanta telling you? Consciousness. No, consciousness is you. So as long as you keep it as a concept, you will want to know it as a intellectual, you will intellectualize it. And intellectualizing means using thoughts, and you will create an objective, you want an objective experience of it. You want to work it out. But while I am speaking, don't think of consciousness as someone else. Understand, that's why I went through this gross space, mental space, conscious space. Conscious space I am. Without me, the mind cannot function. I am not the mind. Mind is only an instrument. But that mind is permeated by me, the consciousness. So in me, the consciousness, which is infinite, without any boundaries, in it there is one mind called Swami Paramananda. Within that consciousness there is another mind called Lalita, another mind called Radha, another mind called Teresa. There are infinite number of minds. Just like in the waters, which is infinite, there are infinite number of waves. But what people have done, they have got identified with one mind and decided, I am only this much. So the misery begins. See, it is so freeing. If you just stay with this thought that I am that consciousness which permeates all the minds, or within whose womb all the minds are existing. If you are contemplating in this thought, you cannot be an individual anymore. You cannot think like an individual. You will move towards Godhood. We are smiling, but that is the truth. And that smile is, Godhood. Yeah, sounds good, but is it for me? Can I really? Inside the mind commentary is going on, isn't it? Accept it. Accept it without any doubt, and stay with this thought. Yat punaruktam देहस्यात्यंत्या सत्वे प्रत्यक्षादि विरोधः स्यादिति तन्न प्रत्यक्षादिभिः आत्मनि देहस्य सत्वानुपलब्धे हे नह्यात्मनि कुंडे बदरम क्षीरे सर्पिः तिले तैलम भित्तौ चित्रमिव च pratyakshadibihi deha upalabhyate tasmanya pratyakshadi virodaha. So in the 59th verse he says, the teacher is continuing, it is not a fact that the absolute non-existence of the body contradicts sense perceptions etc. inasmuch as the existence of the body in the self is not known by these evidences. The body is not known to exist in the self by perception etc. like a plum in a hole, ghee in milk, oil in sesame, or a picture painted on a wall. There is therefore no contradictions to self-perception etc. So the teacher is saying that when we experience the body, we don't experience the body as separate to ourselves, isn't it? Otherwise we'll speak in third person. How do we speak? I am the body. You don't even say it, you just accept it. So just like a paint, here when he says that the body is not known to exist in the self by perception etc., the example given are the plum in a hole. Like in a hole, a plum is kept, so the plum is separate and a hole is separate. Or ghee on the milk. Ghee can never be mixed into the milk. The oil will, float on the milk, isn't it? Through the oil you can even see the milk. You know that the oil is separate. It will, as much you may want to mix it, it will never mix. Eventually it will come and create a separate identity, isn't it? And the third example that is taken, like a oil in sesame, just like in sesame seed oil things, if you mix, the oil will be separate. Or a picture painted on the wall. So if the picture is painted, you know the rest of the wall is different and the picture is different. And you know there is wall behind and the picture is on the top, which is a separate, you can remove it. But this is not our experience. Is it your experience? That you can remove the body? Is the wave just like a painting on the wall? Can the wave be removed from the water? Like the ghee on the milk, the ghee can be drained out and then milk will remain. Can the wave be removed? Then you get some wave, or I got the wave and now that is the water. Can you create something like that? You can remove the plum from the hole. Plum is separate and the hole is separate. Can you separate the body from the self? The teacher is saying, no, don't imagine that way. Because initial stages we say this, that yes, you can separate yourself from the body. But the truth is that if you separate from, I have to I have to dive deep into myself. When I am saying I have to dive deep into myself in meditation, then what am I creating? I am creating a concept that this body is a bondage and I have to escape from this to the self which is within. Isn't it? This is called neti. The first few steps of the Vedanta, withdraw and come. But understand, you are not withdrawing because this has to be discarded. You have to discover by coming in that everything is nothing but you only. When you come to yourself, then it is not that, oh, the world, I have realized and the rest of the world is still ignorant. Come on, let me change the world now. I think that's what I am chosen for. Let me build ashrams, let me build organizations, let me go and heal people. It is my responsibility, you know. No. That consciousness, just like water is itself everything. Every wave is nothing but water. Exactly the same way. Consciousness is alone everything, including this body. And therefore we cannot experience, right now, If you ask yourself, you cannot feel that you are separate to the body. And even if you do feel that you are separate from the body, don't keep it as separate. Eventually the Anvaya sadhana is that it becomes all inclusive. That means everything I am, every name and form is permeated. Well, even if I use the word permeated is not enough, because permeated means that there is something else and I am permeating through it. No. It is, I have given the example, this cloth, every crease on this cloth is nothing but the cloth. So every crease, one crease called Teresa, another crease called Stanton, another crease called Uncle, another crease called Surendran, another called Joy, another called Radha, another called Lalita, camera, chair, carpet, space, air, fire, water, earth, everything. All are nothing but creases on the consciousness, including the mind. Mind is also a crease on the consciousness. And that crease, that big crease called the mind, just like a big tide, has got many waves in it. A tide can have many waves in it. Or a big breaker can have many waves in it. How many breakers are there? Infinite number of breakers, each having many waves. If you want to equate to that, but not every breaker or every wave is nothing but water. Similarly, this consciousness is like one, and in that one breaker called one mind. And within that mind, many waves called thoughts. And this drama is going on. So don't consider that the body is separate, like plum to the hole, like ghee on the oil, or oil on the sesame, or painting on the wall. It's one and the same thing. This is called Anvaya. When you come neti, I am not the body, I am not the breath, I am not the mind, I am not the intellect, I come to myself, the consciousness, then not only this body I am, all the bodies I am. Not only this mind I am, all the minds I am. Not only this intellect I am, all the intellects I am. In fact, there is nothing where I am not. Whether there is anything or there is nothing, I continue to be. Both the manifestation and unmanifestation are only expressions of this consciousness. Just like this crease cannot be without the substratum, without the cloth. Now you contemplate by yourself. I said enough. Clear? It's clear? The discussion that is going on. Katham tarhi pratyakshadya prasiddhatmani dehadhyaropana dehe cha atma ropana. Disciple, how can there be the superimposition of the body etc. on the self which is not known by sense perceptions etc. and that of the self on the body? So the student is still worried. He's still, how can there be the superimposition of the body etc. on the self? I cannot know, my senses cannot come to know the self. How will I come to know? I can see that the wave is superimposed on the water. I can see the crease is superimposed on the cloth. I can see that the ornaments are superimposed on the gold. But I can't see the self being superimposed on the body superimposed on the self. This is a big obstacle, a hurdle. Once conquered, the meditation becomes a joy. Because here the problem of the student is objectification versus subjective experience. He wants to have an experience. Experience supposes there to be an experiencer and an experienced. Isn't it? But he cannot experience, the examples he can understand, But when it comes to the self and the body, he cannot see on what is the body superimposed. He is still thinking self to be an entity. He is not taking the self to be the I. He is not able to, the click is not happening. It's a click. When you think single pointedly, this click takes place. That you are, the moment you are reminded you are the witness, immediately you become the witness. Nayam dosha. That's not your fault, my friend. The teacher says. Nayam dosha. It's not a valid objection. Swabhava prasiddhatvadatmanaha. Nahi kadachit katva siddhaveva adhyaropana na nitya siddhau iti niyantum shakyam akashe talamaladhyaropana darshanat. For the self is naturally well known. I don't need to show you where the self is. Do I need to show you the self? The teacher is telling the student. I don't need to show you where the self is. Self is self-known. You know you are. I don't have to prove or show that there is self. As we see the form of a frying pan and blueness superimposed on the sky, there cannot be a rule that it is things known occasionally only on which superimposition is possible and not on things always known. So, it is not an experience. The self is not an experience which can come and go every now and then. It is a permanent one. Whether you are in waking, dream or deep sleep, you are always the conscious principle. And for that you don't have to think that I am. Do you have to think that I am? I am making lasagna. Oh, that means I am existing because I am making lasagna. I am speaking, giving a talk. Oh, therefore I am still existing. I am conscious. I am dreaming. Who was dreaming? Oh, I was watching that I was dreaming. So that means I was conscious when I was dreaming. You are always conscious. Nobody has the experience of their own absence, isn't it? Nobody has. Kim Bhagavan Dehatmanoho itare taradhyaropana dehadi sanghata krita athva atma kruteni. Disciple. Sir, is the mutual superimposition of the body and the self made by the combination of the body, etc., or by the self? He is still harping on. He is asking, did the body get superimposed on the self, or the self made the body to be stuck to it? Question is, did the wave appear on the water, or the water made the waves to appear? Valid. We never think of these options, you know. This is the advantage when we take a text. All different standpoints are covered. And our mind doesn't go in unwanted thinking, which is called pramad. Or, no, not pramad. What is the word? Pramad. Unwanted thinking. Default processes. It should go in this type of thinking, because it will lead to a conclusion. And this is a valid, we will never think about this argument if left alone. So, did consciousness make the body to be superimposed on itself? If you say self is everything, or did the body get superimposed on the self by itself? Guru Vacha, what will Guru say? Okay, man. Yadi dehadi sanghata krita, yadi va atma krita, kim tatra syat? The teacher said, does it matter if it be made by the one or the other? How does it matter if the water created the wave or the wave got stuck got superimposed on the water? How does it matter if the whole creation got created by the space, in the space, got superimposed on the space, all the names and forms? How does it matter either way? Does it matter? Ityuktah shishya aha. When spoken like this by the teacher, Shishya, the student said, Yadyaham dehadi sanghata matraha tato mama chetanatvat pararthatvamiti na matkruta dehatmanoho itaretaraadhyaropana. He says, if I were only a combination of the body, etc., I would be non-conscious and would exist for the sake of another only. अथाहम आत्मा परोन्यः संघातात् चितिमत्वात् स्वार्थ इति मयैव चितिमता आत्मनि अध्यारोपणा क्रियते सर्वानर्थ बीजभूता. Therefore, the mutual superimposition of the body and the self could not be made by me. He says, if I were only a combination of the body, etc., I would not be conscious. If I am only the body, if I am only a wave, then I will not be conscious, and I will be non-conscious, and I would exist only for the sake of another. Therefore, the mutual superimposition of the body and the self could not be made by me. If, on the other hand, I were the self, I would be characteristically different from the combination of the body, etc. Would be conscious and therefore would exist entirely for myself. So it is I, a conscious being, who make that superimposition the root of all evils on the self. So, to come to the crux of the whole, what he explained here is, he says, if I was only the body is inert, I could not have made the superimposition. But I am consciousness. Maybe I only created the superimposition and got attached to this superimposition, and as a result I am suffering. What is the suffering? Suffering is I am not recognizing my essential nature and I am living as a conditioned self. This is the suffering. इत्युक्तो गुरुरुवाच अनर्थ बीज भूताम चेत मिथ्याध्यारोपणा जानीशे मा कर्षि तरहि. Thus told the teacher said, do not make any superimposition if you know it to be the root of all evils. So the student came to the right conclusion, that not right conclusion but a logical conclusion, that maybe because I am conscious, I have identified with the superimposed, which is called the body, and as a result I am suffering. So the teacher is immediately cutting him up. He says, don't accept that, because if you accept that, then you will have to put efforts to separate yourself from the body. But what is the goal of Vedanta? Right here, right now, all inclusive, rejecting nothing, accepting everything. You are the one. So there is no process involved. There is no distance to be covered between me and myself. But if I say that I have this identification of the consciousness with the self, with the body, has created, is the root of all evil, then I have to do something to get out of this clutch of the superimposition, isn't it? Then there will be distance involved. Then I have to move inside. Then I have to withdraw from the body. I have to withdraw from the mind. I have to withdraw from everything and come to myself. This journey will be created when I accept that I am the body or the mind or the intellect. Understand, this is not happening at a second. We have passed the primary school. This is not even the secondary school now. This is PhD. He's taking you straight to the one. We are not beating around anywhere, the bushes. We don't have to work out anything. Because you are already that, what you are seeking. So where's the question of meditation? Where's the question of studying? Where's the question of diets? Where's the question of objectively becoming aware of what is coming up in the mind? Where's the question of the mind? The more you remain in the mind, that much time you are away from who you are. That much time you are away from who you are. Let the mind be what it is. Let the body be what it is. How does it matter? The cloth doesn't say that, oh, why the creases are there? I need ironing. It doesn't matter to him. Space doesn't complain why the creation is existing within me. Remove it now. I'm carrying so much load, my God. Is this cloth carrying the load of the creases? Is the waters of the ocean carrying the load of the waves? Is the gold carrying the load of the ornaments which needs to be discarded in order to recognize my essential nature? For the water? No. So why do you feel, or why does a seeker feel that he has to discard something in order to know his essential nature? You see, very fine contemplation. You are already that. I tell you, it is such freeing. Do not make any superimposition. Do not create superimposed and the substratum on which it is superimposed. Do not create two, because only where there is two there will be superimposition. If you know it to be the root of all evils, so if you know it is the problem, then why you are thinking in that manner? The student says, this is our situation. The student says, what can I do? I can't help but make the superimposition. Default process. Naiva Bhagwan Shaknomi na kartum. I can't help it. Anyena kenachit prayuktoham na swatantra iti. Disciple. Sir, I cannot but make it. I am not independent. I am made to act by someone else. I want to accept what you are saying, but I am made to seek the truth. I am made to withdraw from the world, withdraw from the body, sit in meditation, seek the Lord, sing the bhajans, seek the self, read the books, come to satsang so that I can come to know myself. What can I do? See, we are all in the same boat. So now the teacher teacher says, न तरहि अचिति मत्वात् स्वार्थः त्वं येन प्रयुक्तः अस्वतन्त्रः प्रवर्तसे न चितिमान स्वार्थः संघात एव त्वं. Teacher, then you do not exist for yourself as you are non-conscious. That by which you are made to act like one dependent on another is conscious and exists for itself. You are only a combination of the body and other things. So when the teacher's job is only one, to bring your attention back to the self. So when the student says, I am propelled by someone to act in this manner, what can I do? He says, that which propels you is you. That which propels you to act in this manner, that you are. That by which you are made to act like one dependent on another, who is taking the superimposed and the superimposition and all this going on. You are the only, because you are considering you are a combination, you are only a combination of the body and other things. So put your attention to that which is making you act in this manner. Yadya chetanoham katham sukha dukkha vedanam bhavaduktam na cha janami. Disciple, how am I conscious of pain and pleasure and also of what you say if I be non-conscious? So this teacher said, you are non-conscious, meaning you are unconscious, and that's why you are seeking, that's why you are not accepting, that's why you are thinking, that's why you are ideating, that's why you are meditating, that's why you are on the journey, that's why you have become a seeker, because you are unconscious. Is it true? Is it true? Because we are unconscious, we are sitting here and studying? Is it true? Joy? Are we unconscious right now? Uncle? Think laterally. Don't take it literally. The question that I asked. Are you unconscious? And because you are unconscious, that's why you are seeking and attending satsang and wanting to know yourself? Or are you conscious, therefore you are seeking yourself? What is it? Tell. Some feedback?
Well, you know, it's unconscious, but now it's consciousness seeking it. I just am.
Uncle, what are your thoughts on it?
We are conscious. On the illusion.
Huh?
On illusion, we are thinking unconscious.
We are conscious and
Because ignorance will feel we are not conscious.
We can't be conscious and conscious at the same time. Unconscious and conscious at the same time.
my question is simple. Are you conscious, therefore you are seeking, or you are unconscious, therefore you are seeking the truth?
You're conscious. Therefore.
Okay, she says she is conscious, therefore she is seeking the truth. What do you say? Only two options. He's thinking hard. Till then you...
I'm not.
Non-conscious.
Huh?
Non-conscious and we are seeking.
You are non-conscious, unconscious, therefore you are seeking. Okay, that's his conclusion. Surendran?
We are conscious, but actually we shouldn't seek, we are seeking.
Are you unconscious, therefore you are seeking, or you are conscious, therefore you are seeking? Answer one or either or.
No, we are conscious.
Don't be but in between. So, A or B?
We are
A is you are conscious, therefore you are seeking. B is you are unconscious, therefore you are seeking.
A.
A. Joy?
Look, I hate to be facetious, but I'm conscious, But I'm not seeking. I just come here to play the games.
Okay. You are conscious.
Ways
Only conscious.
You are conscious. If you are conscious, then you will know the self. Then there will be no seeking. If you are conscious, then there will be no seeking.
Yeah, that is
Because
what
you are abiding in the self then. But because we are unconscious, unconscious means what? Not conscious of our being. Therefore we are seeking. Yes, we are consciousness, no doubt about it. But if you were conscious, you would know yourself. But are you knowing yourself right now? Yes, you are knowing, but you are not aware of it. And therefore you think there needs to be a process in order to abide within myself, isn't it? Abide in the state of being. There needs to be a process of liberation. There needs to be a process of self-realization. This is what the teacher is saying here. Where was I? The disciple said, how am I conscious of pain and pleasure and also of what you say? If I be non-conscious, if I am not conscious, how can I be? So naturally when I said you are unconscious, therefore you are seeking, you will say, how can I be unconscious? I am hearing, I am seeing, I am talking, I am smiling, I am living. How can I be unconscious? So the teacher says, Kim sukha dukkha vedanaya madukta chanyastvam kim va ananya eveti. Teacher, are you different from the consciousness of pain and pleasure and from what I say or not say? Are you different from what you think? Are you different from the body? Are you different from what you are seeking? This is the difference in Vedanta. What are you seeking? The self. And what are you? The self. So where is the seeking? It's only an imagination. It's only an imagination. Stop imagining. Start being. But we are also, we have practiced very hard for many lifetimes, to remain in unconsciousness. To remain in the not self. Shishya uvacha. Naham tavad ananyaha. The disciple said, it is not a fact that I am not different from them. Kasmat yasmat tad ubhayam karma bhutam ghatadikamiva janami yad ananyoham tena tad ubhayam na janiyam kim tu janami tasmad anyaha. For I know them to be objects of my knowledge like jars and other things. If I were not different, I could not know them. If you are not other than me, how could I know you? How could I know you? Because you are other than me, therefore I know you are Stanton. Because she is other than me, therefore I know she is Teresa. Because this camera is other than me, therefore I know it is a camera. Therefore a dialogue can take place. I can communicate, I can touch, feel, taste, feel. But I know them, so I am different. Because I know, and so now where is the okay, I will not go, let the teacher take you through the thoughts, otherwise I will be jumping the queue. So because I know this camera, therefore camera I am not, therefore I know the camera, therefore I am conscious, and this is I am the knower, this is the known. I am the knower, you are the known. So this is what the student is saying. If I were not different from this camera, if I were not different, the modifications of the mind called pain and pleasure and the words spoken by you would exist for themselves. So where are the joys and pleasures and the words of the teacher existing? They are existing in the mind. How do you know there is joy, there is pleasure, or the words that what the teacher is speaking? Only through your mind. And because you are experiencing these, so you say, I know what you said, I understand what you said, isn't it? So that means there is a knower and there is object of knowledge which is called known. Clear. And if that was not the case, then the words and the objects that are known, they will exist for themselves. Actually that is not possible. Objects cannot exist for themselves. There has to be a knower for them to exist. But that is not reasonable. So just what I just said. For pleasure and pain produced by sandal paste and a thorn respectively, and also the use of a jar, are not for their own sake. So if the joy by smelling sandalwood, it is not for the sake of sandalwood that the sandalwood gives the fragrance. It is so that a conscious person can experience. So I experience the sandalwood. So the joy, for the sandalwood there is no joy. The joy is for the person who is experiencing the sandalwood. Or the thorn has got no sorrow. But if I put my leg on the thorn or someone pricks me with the thorn, then for this conscious person there is sorrow. So the person who is experiencing the joy and the sorrow because of the sandal paste and the thorn is other than these two, isn't it? Therefore, the purpose served by sandal paste etc. are for the sake of me who am their knower. This is the conclusion for him. I am different from them as I know all things pervaded by the intellect. I am different. I know. How do I know all of you? How do I know? By thought, isn't it? Where does the thought exist? In the mind. Do I know that the thought exists in the mind? Yes. So I am the knower and you are the known. So either you take the known to be outside or you can take the known to be a thought in the mind. Tam Guru Vacha, now the teacher said to him, Evam tarvi sarvarthastvam chitimatvanna parena prayujyase. As you are possessed of consciousness, you exist for yourself and are not made to act by anyone else. So when I am speaking all this, you should take this all subjectively. Don't look at someone else. You should take it yourself. So when I am saying, when the textbook is saying, as you are possessed of consciousness, so here when the text scripture is saying as you are, you should say as I am. So in the mind, this is the feeling that should go on. I am possessed of consciousness, so I exist for myself and are not made to be act, and I am not made to act by anyone else. I am acting by myself. This is the topic. For an independent conscious being is not made to act by another, as it is not reasonable that one possessed of consciousness exists for the sake of another possessing consciousness, both being of the same nature like the lights of two lamps. Nor does one possessed of consciousness exist for the sake of another having no consciousness, for it is not possible that a thing exists for itself for the very fact that it is non-conscious. Nor again is it seen that the two non-conscious things exist for each other, as wood and a wall do not serve each other's purpose. So a very big point has come out here. What is that? First, that you are possessed of consciousness and you exist for yourself and are not made to act by anyone else. You know, when we were children, we used to sleep in the weekends and the mummy will come. Get up, it's 8 o'clock. Get up, it's 5 past 8. You will get up or should I come? It's 10 past 8. You know, slowly, slowly the tempo is going up. Then she forgets because she is making breakfast. Suddenly she realizes that it's 8:30 and these buggers have not got up still. And she comes and screams, get up and I'll give you one, and pinches here and gives one slap. Mommy, it's Saturday, again you are waking us up. One day we get to sleep late and okay, 2 more minutes. And she goes away. Again she calls, 2 minutes over. As much as she may try, can she make me get up? Only when I make a decision within my mind, either out of fear or either, okay, enough of this can in my ears. Until unless I don't get up, she cannot make me get up, isn't it? I may call you, come on, let's go, let's come to the satsang. Until unless you don't make the conscious decision, you will not come. I cannot force any one of you to come. I can only say some words, I can inspire. But the impetus is from you yourself. So that is one thing. Now the teacher is saying that consciousness does not need an object to become conscious. It is self-conscious. And object cannot make a consciousness. See, there are different equations. Consciousness is self-consciousness. Consciousness does not require an object to be consciousness. Object cannot make consciousness to become aware of itself. And object has no purpose for another object. These are the different equations. Because object has no, what did I say? Does not have purpose for another object because it is not existing for inertness. This object plus this camera, they are not existing for, they are mutually compatible. But camera says, I love you darling, oh stand, come towards me. Will it be? So the stand says, wait a minute, let me, bring out my legs and then I will walk towards you. Can't. For whom is this camera and the stand? Two objects? For a conscious person, isn't it? So, objects of this world. What are the objects of this world? Space, air, fire, water, earth, and combination therein of all these. Everything that you see, hear, touch, feel, taste, ideate, emotionalize, desire, everything is an object. Every concept is an object. Every idea is an object. They are not for themselves. They are not for another idea. One idea is not saying, oh, I love that other idea. I want to marry that idea. No. They are all existing only for one. They can only for one. For some conscious person, isn't it? And where is that conscious person? I am. So, object has got no purpose for another object. Object cannot make consciousness become aware of itself. Consciousness chooses to become aware of the object. Correct? Consciousness, whether the object is there or not there, it is conscious of itself. It does not require an object to become conscious of itself. Consciousness is self-existing. And this whole creation is only existing because of or for this consciousness. It's not for each other. When it is for each other and we think in that manner, wars, religion, comparison, competition, there can never be harmony then. And whether there is harmony or disharmony, who cares? We are not here to prove harmony or disharmony. We are not here to prove that the world exists. We are not here to prove that there is space, air, fire, water, earth. We are not here to prove that there are other fellow seekers wanting to know the truth. We are not here to prove that I am a seeker of the truth. I am not here to prove that I want to attain realization. Take out everything out of your mind and throw it away. Why? Proving means a distance needs to be traveled. You are already that. You are consciousness. Without a dialogue in your mind, you are already that. Because if a dialogue comes in your mind, immediately it becomes objective. It moves away from you. It becomes an object to be attained. But consciousness is not an object to be attained. Like this camera, I can attain this camera. Then I can unattain also, meaning I can give it away. I cannot attain consciousness and then give it away. So it is foolish to say that on the seat of meditation, I came to know myself, but I don't know where I have gone again. After I woke up, I don't know where I went. Now whereas that feeling was, I was so one with myself, but I don't know where. It's only a trick of your mind. Don't get caught up in it. No, if there is a residue of any experience, understand, you're still far away. Drop that experience. It is an experienceless experience. Consciousness is self-existing. I have answered more than the teacher wanted me to answer. But what can I do? The thought is such. So we saw, object cannot exist for another object. Object exists only for a conscious being or for consciousness. Consciousness does not, only consciousness becomes aware of the object. But if the object is present or not present, consciousness still is consciousness. It doesn't become more because it is become aware of a consciousness, and it does not become less in the absence of, consciousness doesn't become more in the presence of an object, and it doesn't become less in the absence of a object. Meaning, it is self-existent. Nanu chitimatve samepi bhrutya swaminoho anyonyarthatvam drushtam. The disciple says, but it may be said that the servant and the master are seen to serve each other's purpose, though they are equally possessed of consciousness. See how he is thinking. It may be said that the teacher and disciple both are conscious beings, and they are serving each other. He is on the ball. He is not. First he was talking about inert, now he suddenly is shifted. He is thinking person. That this example did not come to our mind. Okay, I accept that objects don't have a purpose for themselves. But people are conscious. Here is taking master and disciple, sorry, master and servant. We can take teacher and disciple. Teacher is also conscious, disciple is also conscious, and there is a communication going on. Each of one teacher cannot be teacher who is a conscious person without a disciple, and disciple cannot be a disciple without a conscious person called teacher. So they are mutually, supportive, because the idea was objects and the consciousness are mutually superimposed. So here we are mutually existing. So the teacher says, Naivam Agne Rushna Prakashatvat Prakashavat Tava Chiti Matswasya Vivakshitatvat Pradarshitascha Drishtantah Pradipa Prakashayoriti Tatraivam Sati Swabudhya Rudhameva Sarva Mupalabhase Agnyushna Prakasha Tulyena Kutastha Nitya Chaitanya Swarupena Yadi Chaivam Atmana Sarvada Nirvisheshatvam Upagachasi Kimityuchivan Sushupte Vishramya Jagrat Swapna Yoho Dukham Anubhavami iti Kim ayameva mama swabhava kim va naimittikah iti cha kimasau vyamoho pagatah kim vaneti. The teacher says, it is not so. For I speak of consciousness belonging to you like heat and light to fire. Now the teacher has to come up with an answer, because the argument of the student is also valid. Now he is not taking an inert object, he is taking two conscious persons who are mutually existing. Otherwise I have no purpose. Okay, an object cannot have a purpose for another object, but we two, teacher and disciple, have a purpose for each other. Or a master and servant has a purpose for each other. They communicate. He is serving. He wants to be served. You want to be taught. I am teaching. So the teacher says, I speak of the master, I speak of the consciousness belonging to you like heat and light to fire. So what is heat and light to fire? So fire is one, but what are its attributes? Heat and light. Are they separate from the fire? Can fire say that I have got heat and light as properties?
It's nature.
That which is your nature. If you tell the sun, thank you for giving us heat and light, he says, what are you talking about? Isn't it? What are you talking about? So when the teacher is saying that I am talking about two conscious, if you are taking consciousness here, for I speak of consciousness belonging to you, because I am conscious and you are conscious, then I am talking about this consciousness not like two objects. It is like heat and light, which are the properties, which are nothing but the fire itself. So heat and light are not two different objects other than the fire. So when I speak of this consciousness or that consciousness, it cannot be two consciousnesses. It is only one consciousness, spoken of as heat and light. It is for this reason that I cited the example of the lights of two lamps. Therefore, as changeless and eternal consciousness, like the heat and light of fire, you know everything presented to your intellect. Thus, when you always know the self to be without any attribute, why did you say, I experience pain and pleasure again and again during the states of waking and dream after intervals of rest and deep sleep? And why did you say, it is my own nature or causal? Has this delusion vanished or not? So this example of two lamps was given by the teacher before. Now the teacher is saying that the self, the consciousness is changeless and eternal. like the heat and light of the fire. You know everything presented to your intellect. So whatever you know, what do you know? All the concepts, ideas, names, forms, experiences, etc., etc., etc. What you know, don't take it to be separate from you. It is like heat and light of fire. This should be your attitude. So what will happen right now? That you are sitting and you are watching everything, because we have been conditioned to such an extent that you will think everyone is separate. Don't think them to be separate. Everyone is. So Uncle, Surendran, Joy, Radha, chair, table, etc., etc., everyone, or we just take the conscious beings, they are just like heat and light. How do you know them? As a thought. And what is thought? Thought cannot exist. Oh, I shouldn't say what is thought. How is the thought existing? Normally we will say, without consciousness, thought cannot exist. But can a thought exist independently without consciousness?
No.
Can it? No. So if it cannot exist independently without consciousness, then how does it exist?
Say that again.
If the thought cannot exist independently other than consciousness, then how does it exist?
That comes
As heat and light of the fire. As the wave of the wave also is not a complete example. Just as heat and light. Because wave means there are many waves, isn't it? But when you say heat and light, is there a break? Can you say, oh, this is one wave of heat from the fire, this is the second wave, this is the third wave? You can't say. You can't see the difference, different heats or lights coming from the fire. It's just one continuous. But you know, for heat to travel, the same fire is giving out the heat. It's expanding its light. The sun is expanding its light. Is it doing it consciously? Sun is conscious. If you ask him that thank you for spreading your light, that is its nature. So the consciousness nature is, rays always don't go inwards. Rays are always heat and light. If the fire is here, heat and light will go outwards, isn't it? So when the consciousness is there, which is the light of all lights, where will its effulgence go?
Yeah, towards the object.
What will be the... So if it is going outwards, when the water goes outwards, what it is called? A wave. When the gold goes outwards, what is it called? An ornament. When the I'm just trying to make you understand and myself understand. When the consciousness as if goes outwards, it's called a... So thought is not other than consciousness, essentially speaking. Thus, when you always know the self to be without any attribute, why did you say, I experience pain and pleasure again and again? Mind experiences pain and pleasure, but mind cannot be without consciousness. So, when the consciousness is effulgent, illuminating, what is its expression? Mind. And in the mind, the joys and sorrows. So why you are calling If the sun cannot know what is heat and light, if water cannot know what is a wave, why are you, the consciousness, saying, I had joy and sorrow? How beautiful it is. You got the point? Worth contemplating. We become our own shrink. No, this is not being a shrink. This is touching the source directly. No cobweb can remain if you think in this manner. That is the whole purpose. Still quite a bit left. Again I'll repeat. If sun cannot think about its attributes called heat and light, if wave cannot know its attributes called waves, water cannot know its attributes called waves, or sweetness, or wetness, if gold cannot know its attributes called hardness or ornaments that it expresses as, why you are saying, you meaning consciousness, saying that I have joys and sorrows? The rule must remain the same. Therefore you are unconscious. Therefore you are unconscious. I mean, this is relatively speaking, because if we are conscious, then we have to be at the absolute level. Heat and light, we are saying when we are other than the sun. If we are the sun, there is no heat and light. If I say I am the consciousness, then how can I say there is joy and sorrow? I cannot say anything. I just am then, isn't it? I cannot say anything. But because I am unconscious and I think I have to become I have to catch the consciousness, I have to realize the consciousness, I have to, know the spirit. I create the drama. I experience pain and pleasure again and again during the states of waking, dream, and after intervals of rest in deep sleep. And why did you say it is my own nature or causal? Has this delusion vanished or not? So what is the cause? Is it has the delusion that I am the source, or is there a source for it? Because we came from every effect has a cause, and every cause expresses as all the effects. Is there an effect for me? Is there a cause of me who I am? You are it. You have to put a full stop. You cannot keep digressing. So body has a cause called breath, breath has a cause called mind, mind has a cause called intellect, intellect has a cause called consciousness, and what is the cause of consciousness then? Can't think in this way. You are all that.